Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making an easy, delicious apple cobbler. So let's get started. First off, set your oven to 350, and now we have some apple prep to do. You'll want to grab 4 pounds of apples, and you really have a choice here. I'm gonna peel these first, and they get cored and sliced. I used Honey Crisp because they are one of my favorites, and they keep some of their texture after baking. If you want to have a more tart apple, feel free to use Granny Smith. If you want to have a different kind of baking apple like a Cortland or a Macintosh, you can use almost any of your favorite apples. They're gonna work, except for Gala, Fuji, or Red Delicious. Those get really mushy and you're gonna have more of an applesauce with a biscuit topping as opposed to lovely apples with some texture. A cobbler is a great recipe when you have some fruit you wanna use. You want the vibe of having like an apple pie, but you don't wanna spend the time with the pastry and rolling out and all that stuff. This comes together so easily, really fast, and you get all the same flavors. With a scoop of ice cream, it's hard to beat. Now you want to core and slice your apples. Okay, once your apples are cored, we're gonna slice them, and you wanna have fairly thin pieces, maybe less than 1/4 of an inch. This way they'll all bake up nice and even. As you slice, just transfer to a large bowl. I get asked a lot about time-saving hacks in the kitchen. Preppy Kitchen's super easy. My new book is there to help you, but one thing I would tell you is working on your knife skills, and that includes having a nice sharp knife. A sharp knife is much safer, in my opinion, than a dull knife. If you're gonna struggle to cut with a dull knife, a sharp knife is always there to help you, and you should sharpen your knives, once a week, really. If you're really intense, you might sharpen them every time you use them. Most of us are using stainless steel knives as opposed to like a carbon steel, which is gonna keep its edge longer because these guys are easier to maintain. If you wanna save time in the kitchen, aside from having a nice sharp knife, practice your knife skills. The faster and safer that you can chop, the easier and quicker things are gonna be in the kitchen. Always use your knuckle as a guide so you're not chopping your little fingertips off. By the way, if you like my videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, not with a knife. There's 2 new recipes every single week, shorts, and always something delicious on the horizon. My apples are all chopped, no one got injured. And now we're gonna toss them about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. This is really gonna give us just a little bit of extra zing. You might have some dull apples. You might have some delicious apples. This is some insurance to make sure your dish will have some wonderful lift and a nice play of flavors. 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, or about half a lemon. Okay. Give it a good toss. Now we're gonna finish this with some delicious things, starting with brown sugar. Into our big bowl of apples, I'm adding 1/3 cup of light brown sugar. That's 73 grams. However, this is full of lumps, so make sure you crumble it. Even if you're using a measuring cup, just transfer to your hands and give it a crumble. There we go. The apples are of course sweet, but the brown sugar will give you a lovely caramel flavor and a little bit of extra sweetness. I'm also gonna sprinkle in a tablespoon of cornstarch. This will help thicken things up and prevent any like runny juice situation. It'll be velvety and thick. For some traditional warming spices, I'm gonna use half a teaspoon of cinnamon, sprinkle it in, and 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. If you do not like nutmeg, you can totally skip it. My mother hates this spice for some reason. Although I've snuck it into several desserts that she didn't know about and she liked them, so I'm also adding in 1 teaspoon of vanilla. There we go. Now I'm gonna give this a nice toss, not cavalier. Just work it all together with your spatula. Okay, that's nicely mixed together. Now, this can go right into your 9x13-inch baking dish. Pour that right in. This seems like a lot of apples because it is. It will bake down and kind of calm down a bit. Use your hands just to work it into a flat surface. This is delicious, but just 1/4 cup or 56 grams of butter will make all the difference. So Dot it all over the surface. It'll bake into the apples and give you a really lovely, rich mouthfeel. Butter really does make everything better. I'm using cold butter. This is actually easier to dot on top. If it was soft, it just melts all over your hands. Okay. Boop. Scrape the extra butter off of your fingers. And this can get set aside, and now we're gonna work on our easy topping. For the topping, we're gonna work in a large bowl, starting with 2 cups or 240 grams of all-purpose flour. And this topping is really lovely. It's like a delicious, perfectly sweet biscuit on top of your apples. The bottom is gonna absorb all that lovely apple juice. The middle is gonna be fluffy and melt in your mouth, and the very top is gonna be golden with a wonderful crust. I want half a cup of granulated sugar for this. That's 100 grams. This recipe comes from the mid-1800s. That's when cobblers really came out. And they originated because the colonists in America didn't have access to all their traditional European fruits. So they were cobbling together something, so to speak. A teaspoon of salt for contrast. We didn't have any salt with our apples, so that's purely sweet. This needs a little bit of saltiness. And to puff things up, 1 tablespoon of baking powder. The baking powder is the giveaway that this is an 1800s recipe because it was not invented until then. And before that, to get any fluffiness, you'd have to fluff up egg whites. It was like a miracle ingredient for baking. Our scale is done. Grab a whisk. Don't hit yourself. And now we're just gonna whisk this up so it's nice and combined. My least favorite part about wearing glasses is hitting myself in the face, which happens more than I'd like. Straight into my dry mixture, I'm adding 3/4 of a cup or 180 mils of whole milk. That's right there. And a 1/4 cup or 56 grams of melted unsalted butter. Bring this together with your spatula. This is one of the easiest things that you could make. Really the only part that's work is slicing the apples. And if you had some little hands that want to help you, it would go by in a flash. Work it just until it comes together. So grab 2 spoons, and now we're just going to scatter the topping over the apples. Do not worry if it doesn't cover everything because this will melt and fluff up in the oven. You could use a triggered scoop for this if you want, or just use 2 spoons. This is ready to go into the oven, but if you have some cinnamon sugar on hand, why not sprinkle some on top? Is that a bad idea? I don't think so. My apple cobbler is ready to go into the oven, 350 for about 45 minutes or until the topping is golden and the filling is bubbling around the edges. In you go. Allow it to cool 10 minutes, then serve it up, potentially with ice cream, and you're ready to enjoy. So good. Full of flavor. I love the apple and spices coming together. And this biscuit topping is like crunchy on top, soft on the bottom. It's just about perfection. I hope you get a chance to make this easy recipe. And if you like this video, hit that subscribe button and check out my Apple playlist.